Bonjour à toutes et à tous, c'est un grand plaisir de vous retrouver dans cette nouvelle saison de Projetez-Vous. Nous aborderons tous les aspects des métiers de la gestion de projet et je vous donnerai tous les billes avec mes invités pour performer dans votre carrière et la faire évoluer. Petite nouveauté cette saison, tous les épisodes seront filmés et certains même en studio. J'ai prévu pour vous des invités exceptionnels qui partageront leurs expériences et leurs insights. Si vous êtes certifié du Project Management Institute, vous pouvez cumuler des points, des PDU pour votre certification. Je vous souhaite une bonne écoute. Hello everyone and welcome to this new episode of Projetez-Vous. Today we have an English-speaking episode, so for the French listeners, you can go on YouTube. There will be the subtitles normally. I have the absolute pleasure of welcoming a truly inspiring leader and a well-known figure of project management. So we will see why during this interview. She is an experienced Agile Coach, business consultant, international speaker, founder of Agile, CEO of and VP of the community, the PMO community. So thank you very much, Aina Alliera, to be here today.
Thank you, Mirabet, for inviting me for this podcast with you. And bonjour, bonsoir, everybody. I am excited to share my knowledge today.
So we are Monday, the 10th of March. I really wanted, because she reminded me that on the 8th of March, it was the International Women's Day. So today I'm gonna, just after the interview, publish this episode of podcast, because we will talk a little about women in project management, but the most of the interview will be about the PMO, their future in an AI-driven world, and her new book that has been released with and what it talks about. So thank you very much, Aina, for joining. To start, could you share with us a bit about you? What is your personal career and how you ended up doing all the things you're doing today?
For sure, but it's going to be a very long story because I pivoted in my career at least 5 times. So I'm a jack of all trades and I don't know, master of none, or have I mastered at least one or two during my career. I started as a project manager and electrical engineer. So electrical engineering is my very first background. And then I evolved in my career actually quite quickly. And just in 1.5 years, I became a chief of the power plant. But I didn't like that experience. I wanted to grow. I wanted to work more with people rather than, like working on the factory, like outskirts of the city. I was still like 22 years old or so. So I find another company like downtown the city. I moved there. And I was an engineer there again, but it was very challenging for me, being the only one woman working with men. And again, I was very young at the time, 23, 24 years old only. And honestly speaking, I was also quite a mediocre engineer because attention to the details is not my strength, but as an engineer, it's the key to success. So it's been very stressful for me, and eventually I evolved in a project manager. It was quite a painful experience as well. My director just assigned me to this role just out of the blue. So again, I felt like I need to figure out everything from scratch. I needed to invent the bicycle, which had been already invented many years before me. But at that time, we didn't have mentors. We didn't have the internet that evolved like it's now. So I didn't have anyone, to ask for advice or to help me. And I had just expectations and no help. And again, I was still a young woman. And my team were only men twice older than me. Well, it's been challenging. And guess what? I decided to pivot again. I've been learning English. I wanted to move abroad. And one day I was just suggested, why don't you become an English teacher? You speak English well and you know how to teach. Teaching is definitely your strength. And one day I decided, yes, why not? Why not to give it a try? So I tried, and it brought me the success way faster than I've been in engineering field. I've been recognized as the top 3 teachers in my city just within the next 3 months. So definitely I found out what I can do, my strengths, and I kept teaching. But again, my passion was to try working abroad. So a year later, I moved to the Maldives, and I spent a year in the Maldives working in the hotel, in the hospitality industry. So another pivot in my career. I don't know how many I already counted. And from the hotel, I realized that I'm actually missing the projects, because I love when something starts and something ends. So we can celebrate and we can move on to something else, because I'm bored to do the same things. And in the hotel, the environment is mainly operational. You come to the reception, you work with the guests, you deal with the same problems again and again. You start your shift, you finish your shift, and then it's all operational, and there is nothing new except the guests. But okay, people are new, the problems are the same. So yeah, I really missed the project environment. So when I moved to Canada, I wanted to come back to the projects, but I wanted to pivot to IT. I didn't want to come back to engineering anymore. And so that was my last pivot, how to pivot to IT. I don't know how to code. I'm not a programmer. And that's when I learned about Agile, like 10 years, already a little bit more than 10 years ago, and the Scrum Master role. And I felt like, oh my gosh, that's what I've been doing most of my life, servant leadership, without even knowing about the term of the servant leadership. And that's how I became a Scrum Master, and then a coach, and then started helping with transformations, and also coaching executives, and helping with Agile PMO. I told you it's going to be long.
Yes, but it's very inspiring and interesting. It means that everything can lead to project management, to agile project management. You said you were a jack of all trades, but I feel like we have many lives in one life, and we can, to experience it the full, we can have this kind of change at each moment. You talked a lot, I have the same experience as you, about your early ages, about being an engineer, being a project manager with a lot of men. So today we say that it's a special episode of Women's Day. How do you see the role of women evolving in project management, and what are their main challenges from what you've seen early, but also now?
It's a beautiful question, and honestly, I've been thinking a lot about it recently. So definitely we have like specific to the role challenges. But I also think, like, at least for me, the biggest challenge is to understand how should I behave, because of the misconception of a woman behavior, like generally, culturally speaking, and women's behavior in business. Because culturally, the society still expects us to be nice, to be polite, like the mediator of the conflicts, like not of the conflict creators, to respect people who are older than us. But business and business, if you are like that in business, first of all, it's not you. Like, business won't get much success, because in business you have to be assertive, you have to speak up your mind, you cannot be nice every time. As a project manager, first of all, you are working for the success of the project. And what means success of the project? It means deliver it on time, on budget, and make sure that the scope is fine as well. And here, every day I face with the dilemma, I face with the challenge. Like, should I be assertive or should I be nice? And I feel like the society, like my colleagues, they also face this dilemma with women in work environment, because on the one hand, they're used to, because all of us were taught that woman is nice. They expect you to be nice, so they're frustrated when you're not nice and you're assertive. But on the other hand, they expect you to lead and to deliver project on time, budget, etc. So when you are nice and the project derails, they're also frustrated because you're not acting as a leader. So it's a challenge for all of us to figure out these new norms.
Yes, I know about this paradox. And also, we all had some very strange comment on our side. Like when I was young as you, 26 years old, one of many were like almost retired people, like 50, 56 years old. And one of them didn't want to listen to any of my my tasks that I assigned to him because he didn't want to hear a woman tell him what to do, for example. Later, I was a PMO in meetings. As a woman, I always had teams full of men. And I was really surprised by the amount of time that they let me talk, and they, on the other hand, will spend 15 minutes saying something of 5 minutes, for example. But if it was my case, it's okay. No, keep going. We will be late on the meeting agenda or something like this. So I feel like it was a constant, and as you said, some women, to be successful in their career, need to put a mask. Like there are many manly women in some, for example, in constructing world, the women there need to be very manly, to be very strict, and to impose. Like I feel we don't, if we are ourselves, it seems that people will misunderstand us, will not respect us, will try things that they wouldn't try with men leaders. So it's very hard, but we are emotionally intelligent, even men are emotionally, that we know what are the intention of the others, but we need to keep strong. I think that's the message that I would relay today. As you said, women needs to be more assertive to lead project, to be leaders. I feel like women also needs to keep strong, to not give up on their career because of one or two wrong experience. I think we all had this kind of experience in our careers.
I totally agree. And I also believe that we need to separate kind of like normal social life and business life. So in business, we have to be assertive and demanding because we don't have any choice. But like years later, what I figured out, what was helpful for me, and I think in your case as well, like we are women and sometimes people don't talk to us or don't listen to us or don't respect our tasks as assignment. And in my case, when I was assigned as a project manager, I was 24 or 25 and my team was like men in their 50s. So on the one hand, by my role, I was allowed to interrupt them and assign them work, but by the social norm, I cannot interrupt the older person. So here is a dilemma. So I had to speak up the last person in the room because I was the youngest, but I needed to lead by my role. And it took me years to figure this out. So I started doing the team agreement with people before I start leading the projects. And by team agreement, I mean, like you can agree on everything. You can agree on like technical skills, on scope, but also, for example, we start the meeting at 8 a.m. We finish work at 4, like we don't disturb each other at lunch. So anything you want to agree with the team, you have to agree. And this part, the assertiveness, was one of the parts I was agreeing with my team all the time. And I was direct and honest. Like, I respect your age, and outside of work, I wouldn't dare to talk to you like I speak during the meeting, but based on my role, I'm a project manager and I have to lead and I have to follow the agenda and I have to respect the time. So if I feel like as a facilitator, you take overtime to speak, I will interrupt you, still respecting your age, but we are at the workplace. And when we agreed like this with the team, I felt that it's way easier for me to lead.
Yeah, thank you. So don't be intimidated by the role. And if you were put in the project management role, it means that you deserved it because you were seen by others as a leader. And the second thing, it's very nice because we are both project manager and we have lots of tools. We don't use all of them in projects, but you found the project, the team agreement that is very important in Project Management Institute, for example, to establish grounds, to have a very cohesive team and to know the boundaries. So I think it was great to take this document to help you in this situation and to make it work. So very nice. I think For me, first step to be a leader is project management. Why? Because project management has many tools like this. When you are not a very experienced leader, you can use some of these tips to help you have a better leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. And setting up clear boundaries also helps to avoid many conflicts and many misunderstandings when you face during the project phase.
So thank you, and I hope we encourage women, because I see a lot of women project managers, but when I work further in my career, I'm always the only woman, the only or we are very few women, and I am a mother of 3, so less mothers in the project management landscape. But I feel it's very interesting. As you, I have a passion for projects. I like when we realize something, and when we do everything possible to make it happen. So it is as important for women to be able to get these roles in the society.
Absolutely agree. And I think we also need to praise more like women, like mothers in leadership. I didn't know that you're a mother of three, but yes, I feel like whoever has children, especially like women or men, we need to praise these people in work, because they're setting up a very positive example for the kids, because the kids are our future and they are also gonna lead eventually. So like for this International Women's Day, let's praise mothers at work as well.
Yes, and their situation is very difficult, because we have some privilege in France as mothers to be able to get our children in facilities. In other countries, they have to choose. Even in Germany, for example, is very advanced. My friend in Germany, she said to me very young, like, I will have to choose between a career and being a mother. She found something better. It was her husband who took the parent leave, so finally she could succeed in her career. But she said, us in Germany, we have 2 choices: either be a mother or a successful career woman without being mother. And in France, we are advanced, but we have, because school finishes early, and they like in France late people staying late at work and in the office. So women are branded when they become a mother, and sometimes they have a glass proof, plafond verre, a glass ceiling, because of the role as a mother also. Because you are a mother, you won't be able to work late, you won't be able to do this. And this is only a few of the problems that women face in the work in the office, because we know many others. If we talk about it, it will be a long time. But yeah, we need. I always thought, okay, why am I the only woman? Why am I the only mother? But then there are a lot of hardships to be able to arrive at project manager or leader with 15 years of experience. So I encourage women to never stop dreaming, to never stop accessing these roles, and to always do themselves. You are kind of multitasking, because you were an expert in many fields before who you are today. And many women are also like this, so even many men. So I think we shouldn't say, yes, because she's a mother, she cannot be a good project manager. I think it's complementary.
And I think mothers are way better project managers, because they're multitasking all the day long, and they really know how to put everything on track.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So thank you for this moment of women's power, and I hope many women listen to the show and will be inspired and will stay resilient in their career, because they may face challenge today or tomorrow. Let's keep this in mind. If you don't give up, you will become someone that you want to be, and don't give up. Okay. So now I'm sure a lot of our listeners knew all of your experiences. So we will go through some of your qualities and some of your competencies. So let's begin with agility, because you began to be a project manager in IT by being a Scrum Master.
Yes.
So when you look at agility today, beyond the methodologies, what does being agile truly means to you?
Yeah, first of all, and many will hate me for that, agile is a common sense for me. But how are you going to sell and make money out of the common sense? How you can build your certifications on the common sense? So this is where all of these frameworks started coming, and I think that hurt a lot the agile industry. But we can talk later about it. Coming back to your question, what it means for me. First of all, it's be able, to react fast and be ahead of the pack, ahead of your competitors. And I will give you an example. Mirvet, have you used Clubhouse application?
No.
Do you know what it is?
No.
That's the point. So Clubhouse application, I think it was created in 2020 when we had COVID dominated all over the world. So we stayed at home, and many people felt isolated, and we were still figuring out the technologies like webinars, podcasts, like we are doing right now. Before 2020, it was more challenging because we were used to more like to in-person events. So two creative guys, they created an application where people can subscribe and create a room and talk to each other. So kind of like we are talking right now, but we are using a camera, we are using a Zoom, but that was much simpler. You don't have to see each other. It was just a room where people could talk. And initially it was developing and growing very fast because it was a demand. They identified the pain of the market. So people wanted to talk. So they created a platform where people were able to talk. And at first it was by invitation. So the platform was growing slowly and they had time to develop the new features. But beginning of 2021, when I joined, they made it open to everybody. And it was like a massive wave of people joining that application. And people started selling their product there. People started creating the rules, like one moderator, and that person haven't allowed everybody to come to the stage and speak. So it became like dominated by people who have more followers and very hierarchical. So if you don't have followers, you're not allowed to speak up. And people started asking for more and more features. Like, for example, we are talking right now and I share a book name. And most likely you don't understand the author's last name by my pronunciation, but also it's hard to identify the right spelling. So people asked, can we share the links during our conversation? And it took time for the developers to create this link sharing and the other features the audience demanded. So started feeling a little bit frustrated because they needed to wait for a long. And actually what that platform was about is to give people the opportunity to talk. So when Instagram and Twitter at that time, I think Spotify, the huge platforms, they realized the potential. And they had way more resources and way more development knowledge. So they just built this speaking room inside their own platforms, at least Twitter and Spotify. And there were many people who used Clubhouse, but they were already branded in Twitter. So they just continued using Twitter by growing their followers there. And also the other people were disappointed, like I don't have many followers, so I'm not allowed to talk there. And I joined the application to be able to talk to you, for example, but both of us are not allowed and we are dominated by the one who has more followers. So we also turned to Spotify and Twitter to be able to talk there. And now it's beginning of 2025, but when I kept asking people, even in 2023, have you heard about Clubhouse?
Yeah.
People said, no. but it was a huge success at the beginning of 2021. So what we learned from here, they weren't agile enough to be on the top of competitors and to delight their customers as soon as possible.
Yeah, I understand. Like the other Twitter and Instagram went faster than them, and they couldn't adapt to the market and to the demands of the user. So these are all the faults that made them disappear or something like this, and we not be well known. So thank you very much. And this is how I think an organization can keep alive right now. In many of, in IT at least, because everything goes very fast, but also in other fields that are very competitive, we always need to know if we are still if we are still on or if we are obsolete. So.
Yes, and when we realize that we are already obsolete, it's too late to make the moves. So we need to start making moves before we get obsolete.
Yeah. So what common misconception also, because right now we saw agility as being adaptative, and even I think even if adaptative, many companies say they are agile, but in fact they don't use frameworks, as you say, they just use the word, but when there is a change requested, it's like very expensive because they don't have the right framework or the right process. So can you tell me more about this?
Yes, so the first misconception is that if we bring agility to our organization, it will solve all of our problems. That is not true. What agility does for your organization, it actually lightening up all of your problems, but not solving. So everything you keep sweeping under the rug and pretend that this is not happening, Agile is bringing it to light. So if you really start being agile, you will see all of the mess is happening, all of the ugly things are happening in your organization. That's what Agile does. Agile also can help to solve your problems after you see them, but it wasn't created to solve all of the problems. It was created to show you the problems. And that is the biggest misconception. But the point is that many leaders, they don't want to see the problems. They just want everything to be solved without being addressed. But you cannot do it. And that's why Agile struggles a lot. Not just because of that, but it's one of the reasons why Agile is struggling now.
Yeah, thank you. I would love to go further in this subject, but we have a lot of subjects to talk together. Like when you say Agile struggles, I think that there was a long evolution of Agile, and now it's more, we came back to, okay, let's do hybrid. Let's best of both worlds, because Agile alone doesn't work and waterfall or traditional doesn't work. So I would have loved to talk to you about this in another time, but I really want to go into other subjects. Like, for example, like in your project management career, I think one of the skills that you have really been expert in is conflict resolution and negotiation. You're well known for your work on conflict resolution and negotiation. What make the difference in a crisis, in a situation of crisis?
I love this question because first of all, 50% of the success it's to realize that you are already in crisis, because a crisis has different stages. Like, for example, when you get cold or flu. So as sooner you understand that you are sick, it's easier for you to recover. But with crisis, many identified that we are in crisis when, can I speak directly, when shit is happening.
When it affects, when at the end of the iceberg.
Yes, but the art of conflict resolution and also crisis management is, first of all, to predict the crisis and start acting before it happens. But we cannot predict everything. So to identify it at the very early stages. As sooner you identify, it's easier to mitigate.
Okay, so it seems like, again, risk management. Many companies, as you say, they don't want to see the problem. So they want to the risk because, of course, nothing will happen in the project. We will go smoothly and there will be no problem. But as project manager, we know that never in any project it had happened the way it was planned without any crisis, without anything. So we need to do a real strong risk management and risk analysis in the beginning and know what source of conflicts or crisis can happen during the project. But most of the time, I think you, as a conflict resolver, you arrive after the war or something like this. So what can you do in these kind of situations?
So if I arrive, if the crisis or the conflict had happened, first of all, identify at what stage of the conflict we are right now. If it's like the later stage, it will take lots of time to solve. So if it's the late stage, I don't gather people in the room. The opposite. I separate them and I don't allow them to talk to each other.
Okay.
I talk to each of them individually and I need to prioritize this to everything else. For example, we have 5 people who are in a big conflict, which been happening for quite a long time. So first I need to identify the root cause of the conflict. And most of the time, it goes like way back to history if people have been working together before. So it's even worse to solve, because if somebody has been offended on someone 3 years ago, you need to solve that history, not the current conflict.
My God.
If people never work together and they started conflicting, let's say for the last month, so it's easier because, like, based on my experience, most of the time it's either ego or a misunderstanding or misassumptions when people, it's in our nature to talk the story for you rather than listening to your story. And this is a key skill of negotiator and crisis manager, to make sure to understand your story and not me telling you your story for you.
Yeah.
That's why I talk individually first to all of them to listen to their story. And it's fascinating when what you say might be the totally opposite from what another person says. And not because one of you are lying, but the way we see things.
Yeah.
And that is another stage to identify the common ground. And this is where, first of all, I talk to people again, like after I had the first round of talking to people and identified, okay, this is where the misalignments, like you believe in this part, another person believes that things are totally opposite. I have another round of one-on-ones with all of you, trying to fill these gaps. When I fill the gaps, when I understand, okay, the truth is always in the middle. Okay, that is from my understanding what most likely happened. And I don't leave people alone in the room because the conflict is not yet solved. So I am leading them with my questions very sensitively to identify the roots and to make sure that all of them are aligned in what is happening, but not going deeply yet. So when we are aligned, like the first time, I do another round of one-on-one after the alignment. And here, when people already used to me and they trust me, I go into like more sensitive topics, like how do you feel about the experience overall and about our last conversation? So what do you want? Why do you why are you opposing another person? So first you need to establish this trust, and that's why it's important to do like the first like few rounds of one-on-one. So people start trusting you and they open up to you, because the conflict is always on the emotional level. If we are computers, like if a ChatGPT works with another version of ChatGPT, they never have conflicts. So you identify what is the layer of emotion is here, and then you start solving, finally, you start solving the working conflict. So why this stakeholder opposes the budget, or why this stakeholder opposes the product. So they provide their opinion. And again, the important thing to remember, if there is a conflict, it means people care. And you need to figure out what they care. If they care about their ego, it's fine. We are all humans. We have egos, but you need to work with people's egos. If they care about like losing their position, losing like their job, so it's not really care, it's fear. So you need to work with people's fear. Or most of the time, surprisingly, they conflict because they care about their work, they care about the projects, and they care about the success. So this is a common ground. This is how you build your strategy. You identify what people care about, and you bring them together so you can work here rather than conflict here. And these are the details. We can talk later about the details. Let's just identify the common ground and common direction.
Thank you. It's very interesting, and I feel like you have studied a lot, maybe the psychology, or you have some training. How did you identify that it's a fear? How do you know how to go further to look at the root cause of the problem and what is really behind the people's mind? The easiest is what you said. It's because they are because they care about the project, and sometimes the developer will say, "Okay, we need to write the code very fast, so I don't care if there are some little errors," and the tester will be like, "Okay." But no, you need to have something well documented of quality, and I cannot accept your code if it's not. So these are, I think, the easiest to resolve. But how do you know that it's not because they don't like each other, because emotionally the ego of one was hurt or something like this? Did you do some studies, training, something?
Yeah, so this is a beautiful question, and deserves another hour of the podcast.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a psychologist when I was a teenager, but unfortunately it never happened. I have 2 degrees, but not in that. But because this is like where my real passion is, and I believe my real challenge is, I've been studying people by practice, just talking more to them. And like at school, I felt like I am a priest, kind of, because all of the classmates, sooner or later, they were at my doors and they were sharing the most sensitive stories and fears.
Yeah.
And when I identified my strengths, that people trust me, and you might ask, so why do people trust you? I think one of my qualities, because I almost never judge and I try to understand the person. I'm a very caring person, so people feel that I care, but I'm also a problem solver. So I want to solve the problem, so I tackle the problem, not the person. And when I listen, I try to like fully abstract, like remove my ego, remove my emotions, remove myself from the equation, and just focus on the person. And like you're able, I think definitely study, certifications, colleges, universities will help with that. But also as more you practice, as better you become. And one of the key things is active listening. And I will give you an example so you understand what I'm talking about. Yeah. Let's abstract from the projects and talk about the personal life. So we are husband and wife. And as your husband, I come back home and I say, "Hey, honey, I've got promotion. I'm so excited. And to get this new VP role, we need to move to Madrid.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate." And you're like, wait a minute. Are you saying that we are moving to Madrid without consulting with me, without asking my opinion? Am I not that important? You always think about yourself? The conflict had started. So what is the key of this conflict? People were thinking only about themselves without removing themselves from the equation and thinking about another person. The husband's mistake he was so excited about the promotion because he's been waiting for it for many years and now it happened. So he's happy. We cannot blame him for being happy. And what he does, the first thing he does, he runs back home to share it with someone who loves the most, with his wife, expecting her to share the excitement and to celebrate with him, to share the success with him. And what he faces her being mad. And he's still on this like very high level of emotions, like positive emotions. And it's very easy to switch like the polarity of the emotions from positivity to negativity. And from the wife's perspective, she didn't listen to his excitement part. She also didn't focus on him, like how long he's been waiting for this and how he excited. So definitely on this excitement phase, he couldn't think about her. She was focusing on herself. Like, hey, it means I also need to move to Madrid. And she's right, because this is an important part of the equation. So that is how to bring them together. And also, again, as a mediator, when you're in a conflict like that, I mentioned all of them, like especially the husband, has a very high level of emotions, the positive ones. And then it turns into polar, like the negative one. The way we do it, I call it like 4 seasons of leadership. So this is the high positive emotions. It's like the summertime. So you are excited, you are positive, and then you turn to like the winter phase. You're very negative, but it's still high.
Yeah.
What you need to do as a mediator from this like negative high, you need to like ground the